Back in the 80s, I did a race in Dallas, and I thought I was prepared for the race, except I forgot one simple rule. I didn't look at the swim course. I went out in the morning of the swim and didn't plan on leading the swim, but I was in the lead with about 10 guys behind me and seemingly went around the last buoy. And as I went around the last buoy, one of the boatmen came over very frantically and started waving me in the opposite direction. I looked up and looked back out in the open water, and I could see a little tiny buoy, a buoy that I obviously had missed. So one of the cardinal rules that you first have to follow when you're going to open water swimming is to take a look at the course. And when I mean look at the course, is to look at it on land, and if you can go to the significant points on land where you can eyeball something that's fixed long term, in other words, a radio tower, a dip in the mountain, a big tree, something that can distinguish each turn. Secondly, if you have an opportunity to swim the course, go out to the turn buoys the day before the race and look up, particularly on the last buoy, so you can look at the finish line chute. Because on race day, there's usually a cluster of people and it changes the surroundings. When the gun goes off, that frenetic start, everyone's in a tizzy. We're trying to turn over as fast as we can. We're trying to get on someone's feet. We're looking for the buoys, but we forget about one simple rule of swimming, and that's breathing. And breathing, how do you properly breathe when you're in open water? Well, first off, take slow, methodical inhales. One of the things that I advise my athletes to do is actually to look up at the sky if you're worried about taking short, gasping type of breaths. So when you're taking the breath, actually look up, focus on the sky, put your face back down, and do it for 3 or 4 strokes. It has a very comforting, relaxing feeling. Second thing, how do you actually fix your eyes on the buoys that are in the water? Well, if you turn your head to the side and take your normal breath, all you do is allow your eyes to rotate forward so you can sight. Put your head back down, exhale, turn your head to the side again, rotate them forward and put it back down. Another technique that you can use in open water is to relax your fingers and actually wiggle them during the recovery phase of the stroke. So as your arm comes over the top of the water, wiggle your fingers, and that causes your forearm to kind of relax. It allows your shoulder to relax, and you become cognizant of what your fingers are doing during recovery, as opposed to just swinging them like a wicked board as they're coming over the top of the water. And lastly, as you're coming in towards the finish, if you're in a wetsuit swim, your ankle is plantar flexed or your toes are pointed. And as they're plantar flexed, that balls up your calf muscle. And as your calf muscle is balled up in cold water, it's really predisposed to cramping. So if you can actually dorsiflex your ankle, drawing your toes up towards your knees, that will actively stretch that calf and prepare it for the transition. So a quick reminder in open water swimming. Remember to check out the course the day before the race, at least on land, and if you have the opportunity, get in the water. Secondly, breathing, slow, deep breaths. Turn and look at the sky. Third, make sure that you wiggle your fingers during that recovery. And lastly, dorsiflex your ankles so you don't get any cramping. If you can remind yourself of doing that, even while you're practicing in the pool, it'll come naturally when you're in the open water test.